Good day, everyone. Richard Cowperthwait for Northwest Access TV. Thanks for joining us for another program, and happy to be talking Highgate today. I should note we're taping this show on Monday, June 19th, Juneteenth. Actually a federal holiday today, and happy to have two guests. Sharon Bosquet just put on another hat for the town of Highgate, the former select board chairperson, and now the new town administrator. Happy to have Sharon here, and also Rebecca Manning, trustee of the Highgate Library and Community Center and a member of the Village Core Master Plan Committee. A bit of a mouthful, but big job. So appreciate your appearances here. Boy, Sharon, let's talk about you. I'm glad I happened to mention when I talked to you on the phone last week, I just kind of happened to mention the town administrator job. You know, I guess you're pretty close to filling that, and you kind of matter-of-factly said, yeah, we filled it. Happens to be me, but
that's right.
Interesting. So you've just succeeded Heidi Bruch-Valenta, and boy, I'd forgotten Heidi's a friend of mine, but about 11 years for Heidi in Highgate.
Yes,
a long tenure.
She has done a lot for the town of Highgate.
Yeah,
she really has been an asset to the town, and we wish her luck in Swanton. She'll definitely be an asset to them as well.
Yep, I interviewed, as I said off here, Swanton Village and Swanton Town officials last week here, and the Swanton Village officials were very happy to have Heidi on board. I guess grant writing among other things, but sounds like she's got a good job with those folks.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah,
so
she
again,
leaves big shoes to fill.
Yeah, sounds like it. But boy, 11 years, I didn't realize she had been there that long. So interesting. So you've been... And you knew she was leaving. She gave you obviously a couple weeks notice or so? Or?
Yes. She gave us a 3-week notice basically, and then she's been working part-time to help keep up while the hiring committee interviewed applicants and then hired someone. Right.
So So as soon as you got the word that she was leaving, at that moment, were you thinking, gee, that might be a job I'd like, or did it take her, or was it not that immediate?
No, it was fairly immediate. I mean...
Had you thought about that in the past? You knew Heidi wouldn't be there forever. Had you thought about, gee, that might be a job I might want?
I had thought about it. There are lots of things going on in Highgate, and I'm very interested in the process. Being on the select board was one of the best things that I've ever done.
And you've been on you were on the board for how long?
Almost 6 years.
Wow.
So
you have a pretty good handle on what's going on in Highgate.
Yes.
Interesting. So again, you put how many applicants were there for the job?
I do not know because I was recused from that.
No, good
because
point.
I was an applicant, so I'm not exactly sure how many applicants they received, but I know they did 2 sets of interviews. So.
Wow, and you got the job.
I was offered the job, yes.
And congratulations. So again, you're now a former select board member. You have resigned from the select board?
Correct. Yes, I resigned last Thursday, so.
Okay. And the select board will appoint a successor for you on the board?
They have already reorganized.
Oh, yeah. Who's the new chair?
Richard Flint.
Richard Flint, okay.
And then they've put out to have letters of interest to anyone that might be interested in the open seat.
Yeah. And so that'll be an appointment until next town meeting?
Correct, yes.
And how many years did you have left on your term?
I had 2 years left. My term was up in 25.
Okay. Wow, interesting turn of events. Any with yourself being the new town administrator, anything new in the job description? Is a job that you've just been hired to do basically the same job that Heidi was, or are there differences?
No, it's basically the same job that Heidi was doing.
Yeah.
It won't be so concentrated in applying for new grants, only because we have so many grants in process right now that we've got to make sure that we manage those grants and keep those in place. So that we don't lose funding, because that's always a possibility if you were to lose track and let things slide. So it's my job to keep all the balls in the air and make sure everything goes forward. And then as we get a little more comfortable in the job, we can start going after additional funds and looking for other opportunities for the town.
Interesting. Well, I've got you folks. Why don't you give us a little background? You've been on the show before, but for folks who don't know you well, obviously everybody in Highgate I'm sure does, but give us a little background on yourself, Sharon.
I've lived in Highgate for 30 years.
No.
My family had a business in Highgate, Bosquet truck repair. Then I worked out of state. I worked in New York for 10 years.
We're in New York.
In Champlain and then in Plattsburgh.
No, so
for a little
not too
while.
far
So,
away.
no,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was always still living in Highgate. I'm in love with the small town. I grew up in Georgia, Vermont, which was also a small town, not as small today now, but was always, I like that you know your neighbors. In Highgate, neighbors still help each other. Neighbors look out for each other. Sometimes the more population you get, the less you know of your neighbors and the less comfortable you feel reaching out to someone. And in Highgate, we don't have that. We really do have a small, close community and very happy and very proud of the things that we do.
I assume you must know just about everybody in Highgate. Is that pretty close, do you think, or kind of know something about them or something?
I may know something about them all, but it's
population
hard.
of Highgate these days, what are we talking?
We have 2,700 registered voters.
Okay.
So all in all, I think you'll find we have about 3,600 people.
Yeah, it's about a second. And there's been some growth. Those numbers have gone up.
There
right?
has been a lot of growth in Highgate. We have a lot of developers that are continuing to reach out and apply for more permitting, and so new families are moving in all the time, which Rebecca and I both are on a committee to find ways to welcome these people to our community and to give them ideas of where they can find services, who to contact if they need any help, and just as a basic welcoming to small town life for some of them.
Right. And Rebecca, tell us about yourself. Again, thanks for coming on the show. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us here. Give us some background on yourself.
Thank you. My name's Rebecca Manning. I have lived in Highgate for probably the last 15 years, and before that I grew up in Swanton. So I'm a lifelong Franklin County resident, just like Sharon. When I bought my first home in Highgate, I always thought that I would move back home to Swanton, but the small town feel of Highgate has really grown on me, and I really love that you know your neighbors, and that when you go into the hardware store or the library or the town office, that you're gonna know somebody that's in there and they're gonna help you out. That just everybody, it's a pretty close-knit community. And I have also really grown to love the school system there. I've got 2 kids that are both in school in Highgate. One just graduated from 6th grade, the other is going into 4th grade, and I think that it has been a great place for them to grow up. In Highgate, I have been a library trustee for probably 7 or 8 years. And then a little bit more recently, I've started doing a few more things. I, as you'd said, am on the Village Core Master Plan Committee, and have also been involved with some other smaller committees like Sharon had just mentioned, just to get people that are new to Highgate or that have been in Highgate for a long time just aware of all of the services and opportunities that are right in town.
Interesting. Like Sharon, sounds like, you become very involved in the town. That means a lot to you, obviously.
It does.
Wow. So the village, boy, I don't even know where to start with the Village Core. I guess let's start with the library. Sounds like a very well-regarded library, albeit a very small library. And there's definitely some folks who would like to see a bigger library. Is that kind of an official proposal now, or is that kind of part of the Village Core look? And either of you can jump in on this stuff. Or
Well,
maybe give us, one of you or both of you, give us a little background on the Village Core Study. That's kind of a fairly new initiative, Sharon and Rebecca. Maybe just a little general background on the Village Core issue.
okay, so Village Core, there's a several acre lot in the middle of town that used to house the Steinhauer Hotel.
The old Steinhauer Hotel.
Yes, which was basically a stagecoach inn from many years ago.
Wow. As in way back in the 1800s, right?
Right. It was not listed on the historical register, but was owned by a private individual for the last 15 to 20 years. It had become dilapidated, and the town at that time was interested in taking that over and doing some development with it. It is right smack in the middle of town. Cleaning it up has definitely been an asset to the town. Right now, we have a committee, the Village Core Master Plan Committee, that is searching for development ideas. First, we've
And when you say development, you're talking renovating the building or?
well, there are a lot of different options.
Okay.
They have checked on renovating the building. They've done everything from a Brownsfield study to make sure that the auto shop that was there before hadn't contaminated any property or wouldn't require a great cleanup. There were a great group of people that would like to see a new Highgate Library and Community Center.
Yeah.
We also would like to see some commercial development in the village. And we had done numerous studies, both for a new library and for commercial development on that property, and had a number of charrettes, or basically public meetings that allowed people from the community to come in and ask them, okay, what would you like to see? What does our town need? And based on that, we've come up with some fabulous ideas, some even including senior housing opportunities.
And there's none of that now, correct?
Correct. Right now, it's a dilapidated old building
Yeah.
and an open field. So there is numerous opportunities there, and Rebecca's committee is focused on trying to find the one that fits Highgate best.
That's right. And we do have a vote. Isn't there a scheduled vote coming up in
Yeah.
the summer?
July 20th.
July
At
20th.
6 p.m. at our Highgate Arena.
Yeah.
We have a vote to purchase some land in which we could put a wastewater system. And
Not an actual building, correct?
not a building, not a treatment center.
Yeah.
It is just basically a large leach field.
Huh. Interesting.
Won't distract from the area at all. It'll be basically a mowed field. But it would allow more opportunity on that property, because the way that property sits in the middle of the village, because of the water supplies and the other sewers accompanying those private properties, in order to do the kind of development that we're looking at, we need to have our wastewater off-site.
Interesting.
So that's the first part of development, would be to make sure we have a place and a wastewater system in place, and then a water source, and then opportunities abound.
What's the price tag hooked onto that? I assume there's a specific price tag at this
So
point?
yes, we have received funding for the appraised value of the property, which was $200,000. The landowner suggested that he could develop the property and get a much more substantial price for the property. So the select board at that time had agreed to take $100,000 out of our ARPA money from COVID and use that toward the purchase of the property, and we have come to an agreement with the landowners. So for $300,000, which would cost the taxpayer $0, we
So
would.
again, that's all out of our ARPA money, American Rescue
It's
Plan Act money?
$100,000 of it
Sorry.
is from ARPA funds, and
Correct.
$200,000 of it is from separate grant funds.
Grant, sorry,
yes.
so no taxpayer money for that.
Correct, yep. So it would be a $0 tax burden. But as selectwomen, we need to have a town vote before we purchase property. So that vote will be on the 20th, and we're hoping for a successful vote in order to go forward, because we also have in place grant monies for $2 million to help complete that wastewater project. So we have a very substantial amount of money to go forward with this and to start to make things happen.
So you see this as kind of a key to just kind of doing whatever development comes down the road, kind of a key first step, Rebecca?
This is a key first step. I mean,
Yeah.
without this wastewater system in place, we
Huh.
can't make the next step. So I think that this vote is very important, and I think that it has been discussed at select board meetings and will be discussed again at future select board meetings before the vote. We will have another village core master plan meeting before the vote, and then also the night of the vote, that, you know, anybody that comes out to vote on that we can ask questions and answer questions that night before the vote as well.
And I guess that's come up, I guess, in some of the stories I've seen. So we're talking like Australian ballot if
Correct.
if you're a candidate running for office. In fact, that came up at the last town meeting, right? Residents, I guess that was tabled. I guess the issue was, do you want to, vote with an Australian ballot on all fiscal, financial issues, or even
Yes.
beyond that? And that was tabled.
Yes, after some discussion, that was tabled. It's been on our ballot for several
It's come up before.
years, yeah. There's always that issue of
Kind of turnout versus participation.
exactly, and how informed the voters are when they do make a vote.
Yeah.
But yes, we will need a floor vote because that's the way we are set up legally at this point.
Right, so this will be decided literally by just those who show up on
Correct.
July 20.
It's an evening meeting. It should be,
Yeah. What day of the week is that?
Thursday.
A Thursday, but evening meeting?
it's an
And
evening
again,
meeting.
at the arena, you said?
Yes.
Interesting. Have you got a sense at this point? Obviously, there's some talk about this. It's been in the news. Some, have you got a sense of how this is playing before townspeople right now? Rebecca, I'm sure you hear both sides on this.
I think that there are definitely both sides of it. I think that what is important about this vote is that this vote isn't deciding what will happen on the property. It isn't to decide what businesses will go into any of that commercial space.
Yeah.
It's not deciding if the old Steinauer Hotel will be used as part of that, or if there will be a new building. It's not to decide if the library will be on that property. It is just to get the wastewater system in place so that then all of the next steps can happen, which will also be open for public comment. And we really want the community to be involved in all of these conversations.
Right. So until you get approval, if you get approval for this, all the other issues are kind of down the road a bit. Without this, I mean, not much change is likely to happen. Is that the case?
That is exactly the case.
Yeah. Interesting. That sounds like a big issue. Big issue. For the library, ideally, Rebecca, can I assume you'd like to see a bigger new library building?
I would. We had done a feasibility study, I believe it was in 2017 and 2018, with the library, looking at the space that we currently have, which is less than 1,000 square feet, and it's the old town office.
Oh, is that
And
right, the
so
old town
also
office?
in the center of that small building is a vault.
I can picture. It's been a while since I've been in there, but yes, I can remember the vault.
So that takes away, we use that for
Interesting.
storage, but it's not usable space
Yeah.
for the community.
And capacity's not, is it like 40 to 50 or something? I mean, we're not
I
talking
believe capacity is less than 40.
even less than 40.
Yeah.
It's a pretty small building.
We do have a beautiful yard at the library that we utilize quite extensively
Huh.
because we have it and we should,
Yeah.
but also because the space in the library is so small and so broken up. But part of what came out of that original feasibility study was that it's not feasible to expand on the current lot or
Yeah.
building that we have now.
Yeah.
So when the town purchased the Macy property, it seems to the trustees to be a good fit to keep the library in the center of the town,
Yeah.
to keep it accessible to the school, and just keep it central for everybody.
How
right there.
how big's the Macy property?
3
Yeah.
3 acres?
No, so they're
Yeah.
talking some, and that's right in the heart of Highgate.
That's right in the center, yes.
Okay.
The other thing too is when the library had rebranded itself as the Highgate Library and
Yeah.
Community Center, they really are pushing the idea of a community center.
Yeah.
The library has programming that's not just for young children, but for teens, for adults. They're really pushing to have programming for the elderly or retired.
We'd really like to do some mixed age programming as
Yeah.
well, to be able to join those younger aged children
Yeah.
with some of the elderly, older adults in the community, and just kind of tie everybody together.
And a full-time library director and a couple of part-time. Sounds like you have a good staff.
We have an amazing staff.
Yeah.
Right now, we have a full-time director, and she has 2 part-time staff that work with her, and we could not be happier with all the amazing things that they do.
The library's open. Is it open every Monday through Saturday, or?
We are open Monday through Thursday. We're closed on Friday, and
Yeah.
we are open on Saturday from 9 to noon.
Yeah, that's right.
And I can tell you that our library trustees also are an amazing group of, happens to be just women at the moment, but
Yeah.
they put a lot of their heart and soul
Yeah.
into the library and the programming and into their community. It's wonderful to see the level of commitment that these people have. They want to keep that small town feel, and they want our community to be a very active and interactive place, and I think that's fabulous.
One of the really cool things that the library has done recently is the last 2 years, the library and the rec center, the rec department, have worked together to receive some summer grant funding. And it was really substantial grant funding, which has allowed those 2 groups to work together and just do really great things for the community.
Interesting. I assume we got some summer programs coming up at the library and community center?
There are always
Oh,
programs,
always programs,
happening
not
there.
just summer.
But yeah, there are definitely fun things happening this summer. We just had a magician that we were talking about before the show that
Right.
was there this weekend, and the
Huh.
place was packed, which is just really wonderful to see.
Yeah. But-
And they
yeah.
do field trips with
Oh.
families
Really?
that are free of charge.
Huh.
They take families from the community and Last year, they went to Shelburne Museum.
Wow.
They go to the Echo Center in Burlington. That's all just such an asset to a community that doesn't always have just high-income folks.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what your income or what your education level, everyone is welcome. Everyone can benefit. It is amazing.
But just the space, just, I mean, a very small library, just, I mean, you just feel you would, sounds like you'd kill for just a bigger space.
We really need more space. I mean, the community center aspect is something that we've really been trying to grow,
Yeah,
but it's been difficult to grow that when we don't have the space at all to do that. I mean, the trustees meet for our monthly meetings in the library. There are 5 of us on the
Yeah.
board. The director's usually there. Sometimes Sharon shows up to our meetings,
yeah,
and the room is full.
yeah,
So that makes it difficult to bring in the greater community, but we would like to have a larger library area, but also room for a community center, that the
Yeah.
community can come in and utilize that space as well, because that space is not something that we have in Highgate. There's a nice sized room in the
Right.
town office, but that is utilized a lot at night for meetings.
yeah.
And unfortunately, you can't use the space in the schools now like you used to be able to just when I was a
So
kid.
you literally can't, or it's just more difficult to do that, or?
It's more difficult.
Yeah. So for folks who say, hey, you've got the school right in the heart of the town, that's just not that worth that much for stuff like that, huh?
Well, you couldn't go as a public person and just
Yeah.
walk into the school library. There's protocols to follow. You'd need a reason to be there,
Yeah,
just for the safety of the staff and children.
sure,
Just recent events in the last 10 years have been
yeah,
disturbing at best, and the schools have taken the appropriate precautions,
Yeah.
but that also means that some things that people think they used to be able to do
Yeah.
aren't viable any longer.
yeah.
I think as a
would-
parent, I appreciate that
Sure.
not everybody can just walk into the school
Yeah.
as they used to.
Yeah,
But it does make it difficult, and limits the amount of space that the community can use.
yeah. How is the school library? Is it a decent school library?
It's a great school
Yeah.
library.
Well,
Yeah.
that's good. Well, that sounds like a big issue. Again, what's your sense? Obviously, on any issue like this, you're going to get folks with different points of view. Do you feel there's an acknowledgement by a fair number of folks that the town really does need a bigger library, or obviously?
I think that there is for
Yeah.
the last
I would agree, yeah.
several years.
Of course,
5.
price tags always come into play, obviously.
Yeah, probably for the last 5 years, the town has set money aside at town meeting each
Yeah.
year for a future library.
Yeah,
So I think that the support that has been shown there shows that people understand and that they support a larger library and community center.
yeah. Is there a rough price tag? I realize we're early on here. Is there a rough price tag on what a new library and community center would cost?
I think we're close to
Yeah.
getting there with
Yeah.
a rough price tag. We are working with an architectural firm right now,
Huh.
but I don't have a rough price to throw out right now.
And it's early on here. I mean, it sounds like the July 20 vote's a key
Right.
first step, as you said. Well, that would be a big project. Anything else to mention as kind of along with a proposed possible new library?
Well, I think too that all of our communities have drug opioid issues.
Sure.
And I think that one of the ways that we can help with that issue is to have things like our Highgate Arena, where children can be into sports instead of on the streets, have programming that requires them to be drug and alcohol free in order to participate in sports. The library is another, it's a safe place for kids to go. It allows them to understand that there's a larger world out there than sometimes they get to see at home or in their communities. And really hope that by providing these opportunities for children that we can help even if it's in a small way, with the drug issues in the county.
Yeah. Makes me think of Lamoille Valley Rail Trail, LVRT, of course.
Absolutely.
Finished, nice asset for the
Yes.
town.
Yeah.
I guess the governor's going to show up at the Swanton end, July 15th, if I have the right date.
Yeah.
I guess it's going to bike to St. Johnsbury. I guess Senator Sanders is going to show up too, I'm told. I'm not sure he'll bike the whole place, but it sounds like that was a good initiative. I mean, you hear about a
Yes.
lot of proposals, and I know it meant a lot to the governor, but I guess it's either fully completed or very, very close.
Yes. I live along the rail trail.
No, is that right? So you're right there.
And
Seeing
it-
more traffic these days?
more and more traffic. It's
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah.
People walking with their dogs, biking, e-biking.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful asset.
That's one of the
Yeah.
things that has come up in the Village Core Master Plan
Yeah.
Committee is how to better integrate the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail, which
Right.
runs right through the center of town
Yeah.
into the town, how to be able to pull those people off the trail
Yeah.
and have them come spend some time and spend some money in Highgate.
Maybe thoughts of like having a small pavilion or something and just information about Highgate as people are going through or something like that,
Yeah, there's been talk
perhaps?
of kiosk, a
or something.
pavilion, and then
Huh.
something that has also come up often during these charrettes has been people want a place to get something to eat in Highgate.
Yeah.
Not a huge restaurant, but just a small town diner, cafe.
Yeah.
And if we had something like that to let the people on the rail trail know that, just a little ways this way, if you hop off, you can get a burger and something to drink. And
That sounds like that'd be great. Anybody
Yeah.
making any noise about doing something like that?
Oh, yes, we
Yeah.
have all sorts of plans and,
Yeah.
and possible outlays for the Macy property of
Yeah.
different ideas for
Wow.
that. Our
Huh.
rec committee is also hot and heavy into plans for a pavilion. They'd like to put a pavilion there where they'd have a bike station, so you'd have be able to get air, have a few tools in the event you had
Yeah.
a minor breakdown, and perhaps give some facilities so that you could also, stop, rest.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, it
Yeah.
sounds like a tremendous asset.
Yeah.
And I guess Swanton's going to do some work on their end of what will be the western end of the LVRT and
Yeah.
and do something. No, that sounds like some good thoughts here. But we've got plenty of time left, but I don't want to forget about the airport project. Can you give us
Yes.
an update? Of course, that I guess was kind of the last vote in Highgate when I guess last summer.
Yes.
Highgate residents, I think, pretty decisively approved the bond for extending the water and sewer lines from
Correct.
MVU out to the airport site. So how's that moving along, Sharon?
Well,
I guess that work is going to be starting.
the state actually has started their,
Of course, they're doing stuff at the airport.
yes, they are improving the airport, they're improving the runway.
Is the airport closed to traffic at this point?
It is,
Okay, with this work
Yes.
being done?
yeah.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll be a quick process
Yeah.
so that we don't harm any of the businesses that are still there, but,
And they're extending the runway, right?
yes. So it's a huge project for us.
Yeah.
The water and sewer is one more step of that. We are in collaboration with Swanton Village,
Yeah.
who has been a fabulous partner.
And of course, very supportive of that
Very
project.
supportive of that as that. Right now, we're in the process of finalizing our easements. And then once that's done, we can start on some finishing the designs and then put that project out to bid.
Huh.
So most all of our permits that are in place, we have, I think the wetlands we're still waiting for, but that should be a big project for us to help grow some industrial commercial.
Yeah, again, down the road, but it sure
Yeah.
sounds like there's some pretty good potential there, huh?
Yes, we've worked very closely with Tim Smith,
Yeah,
the Franklin County Development Corp.
yeah,
They've been a true asset to us.
yeah.
And we have several private developers that are also partnering with the town to put in more industrial commercial. We've had a huge influx of housing, but not so much the commercial.
Yeah,
And we need to balance our grand list a little so that we don't overburden our taxpayers.
yeah.
And that's part of the idea of doing some development.
Boy, a lot of stuff going on. Unfortunately, and not to hang this on Highgate, but I guess this looks like the last summer for Franklin County Field Days at its current site, I guess, huh?
It does sound like that. I
Yeah.
know that there is a committee that's working
Yeah,
tirelessly to find a new location.
yeah.
I know they were hoping they could find something in Sheldon that would be
Kind of middle of Franklin County.
mid-county, yes.
Yeah,
But I know our legislators are also helping in that process, so
yeah,
hopefully they can find what they're looking for.
yeah. Any thoughts on the airport project, Rebecca? Probably not exactly. Does that come up at all with the village core discussions or not? I guess pretty
No, we are
pretty
really
separate
pretty
thing.
focused
Yeah.
just on that parcel of land in the center of town.
Yeah. Some other issues while I've got you, I'm not even sure. Of course, St. Albans City PD's been providing coverage of Highgate. Are they
Yes.
sticking? Have they got another year coming up starting July
They
1st?
have agreed to one more year.
So one more year. That's kind of what I figured, but I hadn't heard that for sure.
Yes. We've put our contracts out to bid and they were the sole
Is that
bidder,
right?
so.
So the sheriff's department didn't even go. Of course, everybody's got labor shortage issues, I guess, but
I think
the
that's the
sheriff's
biggest
department
issue.
didn't even go for it, huh?
Yep,
Interesting. They were the sole bidder.
yep.
Interesting.
So we have some other irons in the fire, hopefully to find a good, reliable source of police protection. It's one of our main focuses, as we know that this contract will end next year,
So
July.
another year. I'd take a wild guess that there's no talk about starting your own Highgate Police Department, or am I wrong about that? Tends to be a fairly expensive.
Extremely expensive.
Might be nice to have it, but does anybody ever mention that? Is there some?
People occasionally mention it, but
Yeah.
yes, when you get down to facts and figures, it's not viable.
Yeah, sounds like not viable.
I know there was talk at one time of a county-wide police that never went to fruition, but I know that former Chief Taylor was very interested and thought that was the way that this would end up going, but
And I hear that in my recent discussions with Swanton Village and town officials came up with at least some of those folks, but yeah, the term regionalization of police coverage. So boy, given labor shortage issues, which are always out there, it sounds like
Yes.
we may hear more about that.
yeah.
Anyway, but you've been pretty happy with St. Albans City PD? They've done a decent job in Highgate?
They have done a decent job in Highgate,
Yeah.
yes. They're more visible than what we had before.
Yeah, I'm in Highgate not infrequently, but every other time I'm in Highgate, I go past a city cruiser, I think.
Yeah, yeah. So yes, they've been very responsive, I know, to
Yeah.
the select board and to any questions we've had. They've
Yeah.
been responsive in incidents, so
Yeah.
yeah, we've been very happy with them.
I guess I did, in fact, I think I did ask the Swanton Village folks, if Swanton Village PD, which of course covers the village obviously, and Swanton Town, if they had any interest in Highgate, and I guess the response I got at this point, we're just doing Swanton, but who knows? They tell me they're the only fully staffed police department in the state.
I
Interesting.
could believe that,
Yeah.
yes. I know it's amazing.
Yeah. Somebody mentioned, I didn't know this, but the converter station, and I've been here long enough, I can go back. I remember going to I think one of the first meetings on that when that was proposed, but is there work? Someone said there's some upgrading work coming in there, or?
There is a huge project going on right now.
So a huge project.
Yes, they are running new lines, new poles through to Georgia, from Highgate to Georgia.
Wow.
So yes, they've been having pole changes to getting away from wooden poles so that they don't have as much bird damage,
Yeah.
and going to steel poles to give them a longer life.
Yeah.
They've also been making the lines higher, so the poles are longer. But yes, they've done some computer updating at the station itself. And I didn't realize that one of the reasons that we have that big a station was because the power that comes from Canada
This is all Canadian hydropower.
Correct.
And
is a different type of power than what we actually use here.
hence the name converter station.
Exactly, yes.
Interesting.
So yes, they are doing upgrades. When we asked, the upgrades are for a 20-year period. That's how they do their updates.
Huh.
So after this update, we should be good for 20 years.
Interesting.
So I think they are too, planning for future.
And that's been a pretty good, you folks get some pretty decent tax revenue out of that
Yes.
station.
Yep.
Right. That's right. And that makes me think of something, I think this came up at the Highgate Town Meeting, as I recall, which I caught this last March. I think one of the Highgate folks asked you as a select board chair at the time of the select board, hey, I'm not real happy with my Vermont Electric Co-op service. I'd like to switch over to Swanton Village Electric. And I think you said, boy, good question. I'll have to look into that. I happened to ask the village folks about that, Bill Sheets, and he said, no, can't do that.
Right.
Not that, which I kind of figure would be the answer.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But
some
yes, Swanton Village has
So-
been fabulous.
yeah,
It has been an extremely reliable service.
yeah.
Um,
Also about the lowest, I think they tell me what, second or third lowest rates in
Yes.
electricity rates in the state.
Yep. Yeah, the partnership with Swanton Village for the dam
Yeah,
was a wonderful collaboration.
yeah, of course. And Orman Croft was one of the first
Yes.
public officials I dealt with in my earlier years up here, someone I just have great and very fond memories of. Of course, the Orman Croft generating facility in Highgate Falls. And of course, huge issue for Swanton now is getting the relicensing
Yes.
done. It seems like I vaguely recall, maybe well in the past, some disputes about how much Highgate should be getting in tax revenue for that. Is that, I don't recall any recent disputes about that. Yeah,
No, we couldn't ask for a better partner.
yeah, so that's worked out pretty well.
That has worked out very well.
Yeah. Boy, I love it, especially in the spring when the Missisquoi is really cranking. Just walking across the bridge down there is
Yeah.
incredible. Anybody who hasn't done that, it's just unbelievable, the force of
Yeah.
the river. Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, you have a lot of resources. I mean, a lot of issues, but boy, you certainly have a lot of resources for Highgate.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very industrious, very happy town
And
that really does have a lot of opportunities.
how's the arena? Of course, the arena was much in the news some years ago
Yes.
when it seemed to be in pretty tough shape. Is the arena in pretty decent shape these days, or?
The arena is in fabulous shape.
Yeah, I think I got in the last, I made it up for the last, I think, public skating session. I think
Yeah.
maybe the last two this year. Yeah, it's in good shape.
Yeah, it's in very good shape. We've had been through a couple of directors, but we seem to be quite wonderful shape right now.
Yeah.
Also, a fabulous group of volunteers out there that are on our rec committee. It
Is it director, is that a full-time position? Or
that
part-
is a full-time
Is it?
position. We
Really?
also have a buildings and grounds person.
Huh.
Both very good people. Each committee member of the rec committee has put in at least 20 to 30 hours a week
Wow.
helping with everything from running the Zamboni to helping clean up
Wow.
to building a new building for resources and just they've put a lot of time and effort into that, starting with Maha, who ran it before, until the town took it over. But they have been doing an excellent job. Very good programming. Still expanding their programs for children and adults.
Huh.
So
Is there like summer soccer that goes on in there too?
there's summer soccer, there's,
A lot of stuff.
yeah, baseball camps, there's, you can get to ride a bicycle.
Yeah, of course, LVRT goes literally right by.
Well, the grant that Rebecca had mentioned before
Yeah.
brought in $35,000 to the Rec and Library program,
Yeah.
and they bought 20 bicycles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're probably close to
Wow.
24 bicycles, all the way from
Huh.
the small bikes for like a toddler with no pedals,
Yeah.
all the way up to various sizes of mountain bikes for teens, adults, children.
But you can go to the library or go to the rec center and sign out a bike.
Really? That's great. At no charge?
At no
Correct.
charge.
Really?
The other
Interesting.
thing that's the rec department, I believe, is in charge of is the snack bar that is famous for their French fries all winter long.
In fact, it's funny. I was going to mention this. I love the snack bar. Talk about reasonable prices. It's a great snack bar in there.
Well, they took bids this spring, and they have someone else that is utilizing the snack bar space for the summer months. So if you're on the rail trail or
boy.
using the
Thanks for
fields,
mentioning that. Thanks for mentioning that. So that's in business as this summer.
right, you can
Wow.
pop right into
that's
Natalie's Noshes at the
Yeah.
arena.
So how about the municipal building? And in fact, they were built to the same. I think we're going back to, if my memory serves correctly, U.S. EDA, U.S. Economic Development Administration, bucks for both the arena and the municipal complex.
Yes.
We're going back a few years here. I mean, we're going back to, even late 70s, 1980 or so.
Yeah.
How's the municipal building holding up, Sharon?
The municipal building is actually in great shape.
Yeah, I know you've been
we-
doing, I talked to town clerk Wendy the other day. I know some new flooring was going in and stuff.
Yes.
But that didn't sound like the best time, having to move stuff. That didn't sound like a fun time. But that got done?
That
It's
is,
getting done?
our finishing floor project will start on the 29th
Yeah, about to
of this
start.
month,
Wow.
yes.
Well, good luck with that.
So, and then we'll be out for roughly 3 weeks and then back in the
Yeah.
office. But yes, that's all new flooring. We did the roof a few years ago, completed a new roof project, did some repair to the suspension of the roof. We've had,
There's some work on the floor in the fire department. side of
yes, we
that.
replaced the floor in the fire department. That was a huge project. And we had found the remnants of an old church underneath the floor, so that
Really?
became a bigger project than we had expected.
Wow, interesting. But that building's holding up reasonably well.
It is holding up extremely well, yes.
What about Highgate Fire Department? How are you doing for staffing? I mean, you hear about just volunteer fire departments, emergency crews, just labor shortage, such an issue. You faring okay?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm very
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah.
We have had a lot of new volunteers come
Really?
forward.
And some younger folks.
Some younger
too?
folks, yep.
Really?
And a lot of them are invested enough to go
Wow.
through the proper training.
And we're talking pretty serious training. This is
Oh,
no
yes.
easy thing to pull off.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we had one of our officers put together a program to advertise for volunteers, and they did it socially and with posters around town, and they got an amazing amount of volunteers to show up. And when they did the chicken barbecue,
Huh. Sorry I missed it.
they had a fantastic number of volunteers come to help.
Really? That's great.
Wives, girlfriends,
Wow.
fire department members all gave up their day to do this.
Really.
And yeah, no, we have a great fire department. Absolutely.
So you had a good Memorial Day? I know it's a big day in Highgate. Good day.
Yeah, we did. We had
Yeah.
a lot of people show up. It was fun.
Yeah. And what about equipment-wise for the fire department? Is the department in pretty decent shape equipment-wise?
They are in decent shape.
Yeah.
They had just received a truck 2 years ago, and we make good use of our capital improvement plan in Highgate, and we are slowly but surely building a base back up for the replacements that'll be needed in the future. So
Yeah. Talked about possibly some senior housing down the road would be nice. The issue of affordable housing, of course, a huge issue you hear about every day. So that come up? Any prospects for some kind of, and of course that term always kind of throws me off. Affordable housing. What's anyway? But does that issue come up once in a while? Or?
yes, as a matter of fact, as a modernization of our bylaws, affordable housing has been a key piece in providing some guidelines for keeping affordable housing in the picture. And also, there's a great interest in town for the senior housing.
Yeah.
Our town
I bet.
is aging.
Sure. Like Vermont in general, I
Yes.
can relate only too well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we want to be able to provide housing and services for
Yeah.
those people.
Yeah.
We don't want to have all of our older people move out of town as they age.
Yeah.
We want them to be able to stay. We want them to be close to their families.
Right. And affordable housing, child care centers and stuff, another huge issue.
Mhm.
Highgate has some, boy, is that an issue in Highgate as it seems to be in a lot of places, or you got some child care centers, facilities?
We do have several child care centers. We're very fortunate. I know the Methodist Church has a very good child care center and is usually full all the time. Great staff, safe, reliable place. So yeah, and we have several other daycare centers in the town as well. So at the moment, we're doing pretty good there.
With the border situation finally having eased post-pandemic, or hopefully post-pandemic, do you notice, Rebecca, do you notice more Quebec plates around? Is that noticeable at all?
I think that what I've noticed most this spring is I've recently moved into the village, and the bikers are back.
Oh yeah, some more, is that right?
And I think that a lot of them come through at the border. I had taken a trip up to Montreal this spring and had dinner, and the gentleman that was waiting on us had said, "Oh, you're from Vermont, where are you from?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh, I've been through there. I have biked through Vermont from Montreal." So I think that the Canadians are glad to be able to come back through the border again.
Yeah. Sharon, you noticing some more traffic from north of the border?
Not so much traffic
Yeah.
right now because Highgate's border crossing is closed at the moment to finish up their
Oh, is that right?
highway
So-
project.
Oh, is that right? I didn't
Yes.
even know that.
So our highway project, their highway project, will mean a big increase in traffic.
And of course, they're doing the big upgrade
For
of
customs
the
as well.
Highgate Port of Entry.
Yeah, so I think you'll see much more traffic in the time to come.
Wow.
I know we're also looking at upping our welcome center to providing better services, better information for the county as to what we have to offer people.
Yeah, and I know Tim Smith, who you mentioned, Franklin County Industrial Development Corp. would love to see a new rest area
Yes.
along the interstate. And it sounds like that might happen, but I'm sure years down the road. But of course, they used to have the Welcome Center as soon as you crossed into
Yes.
Highgate which they demolished years ago.
Yeah.
There was a recent meeting, I sure didn't pick up on this, but on Missisquoi Bay, I think it was a recent meeting in St. Albans. Does that mean anything to you? I think on one of the TV stations previewing this, and I never saw any stories about it, but I guess the meeting about just how Missisquoi Bay and the drainage area was doing, does that mean anything to you? I think it was a meeting in St. Albans with different state folks there.
Yeah, we are definitely in the midst of a crisis with Lake Champlain.
Yeah.
The state is trying to help by having towns go to more and more stormwater projects.
Right.
In order to keep your funding coming, you have to comply with so much stormwater improvements
Yeah.
every year.
Yeah.
And they're trying to get a handle on what's coming into the lake and the algae situation that has become worse and worse.
Yeah.
We've lost a great amount of value, I think, to our property owners on the lake.
I know that issue came up in Georgia a few years ago, and I'm sure
Yeah.
probably routinely for a number of people.
Yeah, we need to think about how we can clean that up and make it, again, a nice, safe, clean place to visit.
Yeah, that'd be nice. I know Swanton Village, as I'm sure you know, has a major upgrade of its wastewater facility coming up at some point. I guess probably next town meeting before voters, I think.
Yeah.
That's right. Down to about just a little over 2 minutes. Rebecca, anything you want to mention quickly that I haven't asked you about, or?
I don't know that there is anything that you haven't asked. I guess I would just encourage people to come out to the select board meetings, listen in via Zoom. The same with the village core master plan committee
And those meetings are Zoom, you can Zoom into those meetings?
You can
Yes.
Zoom into
Yeah.
those meetings, and definitely come out to that vote at the arena, ask your questions, and learn what we're doing.
Interesting. So you got a good feeling. It sounds like you love your town, but well, a lot of potentially kind of exciting stuff going on here, but some big issues. But
There's a lot going on.
Mhm.
boy, so you're taking command of quite the time here. You know what
Yes.
you're getting into.
Oh,
You probably do know exactly what you're getting into, but
Yeah.
a little daunting or not? Sounds like you're prepared to deal with this, Sharon.
I'm pretty excited,
Yeah.
actually. I really am
It sounds
excited.
like a real key time for the town.
Yeah, and I couldn't ask for a better group of people that
Yeah.
volunteer their time, who step up to these committees, who help out any chance they get.
Yeah.
It's just, we're very blessed in Highgate.
Will it be a little strange, again, you're now a former select board person and the new town administrator? Is that a little strange in a way to change those roles? Obviously, the two roles are kind of connected.
Well, I'll have to remember that I don't have a vote, so that I can advise, I can inform, but
And you're not, and you're
not
kind
have a
of, I was going to say, I guess you're kind of not the boss anymore in a
That's
way
right.
also. Interesting. But you know your new bosses pretty well.
yes,
And Richard Flint, the new chair of the board, certainly someone who knows Highgate very, very well.
yes. Yes, Richard has a huge heart.
Yeah. Anyway, well, a lot of stuff going on. So again, that vote coming up on July 20th about, and plenty of opportunities for people to get more informed about that.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll call it a day. Thanks very much to Sharon Bosquet, the new Highgate Town Administrator, former Select Board Chairman, and thanks a lot to Rebecca Manning, a library trustee and a member of the Village Core Master Plan Committee. Thanks for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to Paul Snyder, our producer today, for doing the hard work back there. I'm Richard Cowperthwait. We really appreciate you watching us here on Northwest Access TV. See you next time.